It's John Robison. I'm here in Enfield with Ray Millette and Rick Lees, and we're going to look at some further issues on this Ferrari 365. A year ago, I did some videos on this car looking at issues when we first received it. We had a fairly long list of mechanical things to take care of on the car. And during that time, we had some parts waits, and we had some time for this car's relatively recent paint finish to begin curing. And I am sorry to report that through the process of curing, some new problems have surfaced in addition to what we already knew about, and the scope of repair on the body that we're tackling in Enfield is now, unfortunately, rather more than we hoped or wanted, given the workload of cars we have right now. Ray, can we start? Let's start with the center of the trunk and then the edges.
Sure. There's a fairly large area.
And I'm going to move in with the camera.
Looks like there's some shrinking of materials, but also there's some other areas that look like solvent popping as well.
Now, do you see these?
We have
these ripples right in here. It's very hard to capture this in the camera lens because the lens sees it a little different than me. But like right now, I'm seeing lines in here. I'm seeing bubbles in the paint. These are things that are there we go. See, I'm running the light over them right now, right in the bottom left of the image. So these are very clear aberrations. If you're looking at this car under the fluorescent work lights here in the shop, or if you were looking at it under sunlight. And then as we go over to the left side of the trunk, I'm gonna try and capture these for you.
Yeah, these are actually larger. And again, appears to be solvent popping. Is yet along
see,
that
like
edge.
Here where my finger is. See these bubbles under the paint? So what this typically is in diagnosis of automobile paint failures, this is where solvents are bubbling up through the substrates. And they're starting to come through the top. So ultimately, this will be paint that breaks down. And unfortunately, what we're gonna have to do to fix this is strip the trunk and redo it. And of course, that's just a start. Can we show the...
While we're on this,
Yeah?
these appear to be pretty thick.
Oh, yes.
Okay, right through here. Also, this should have a rounded edge. Should not be this thick and should have a rounded edge, not a flat square type edge around here.
And let's just show for comparison. We have another deck lid off an Italian car. So let's look at that, okay? Here's another deck lid upside down for work. And this is the lid off the Lele, isn't it?
This is the lid off the Lele.
Hold on, yeah. So a same vintage Italian car, same production processes. You can see here, you can see how the blue panel here is folded over the inner layer, and you can see how it's attached. We can look at it straight on, see how thick it is and how it looks. Now we can move back to this trunk lid, and it's just not right. I previously called out the doors. Since we're now into the panel thickness, I want to show you again. See this, how we have variable thickness of the door edge. And you see how there is no lip where the door skin rolls over. It's all covered in filler, and it's quite thick. This here is 1/4 of an inch roughly. Now let's step over again to another Italian door from the same period. And this is, comparatively, it's like a knife edge. And you can see that the rolling of the metal is clearly visible. And you can see how this continues right along the bottom of the door. Here we have water drains, those two dots there. And more water drains. You can see here the door skin, the outer skin's folded over. You can see these various welding and attachment marks. Now I'm going to show you same areas on this door. So here again, there's nothing visible there, but if we lay down and we look under it, we encounter a boundary where see, there's the boundary where the filler stops, and we can start to see the door skin. And what we see here is that the door skin, see here, like here's a tack weld, and here's another tack weld, and you can see this line is uneven, and a tack weld. The reason this line is uneven and the reason for this tack weld is almost certainly that this is a replacement door skin, and the cut of the skin is a little bit uneven where it's folded over, and that produces this line. And most people don't look at the bottoms of doors, but some people do. And if you're making a 100-point car, it's kind of part of our job with what we're doing. You can see this line that attaches the molding. This has been cut and spliced on the bottom of the door. But the point is that the door is made in the usual way, and that is completely hidden here. And we're going to have to deal with that. Should we look? What do you want to?
Yeah. Okay.
Want to show the rippling here?
Yeah.
Now back here, I'd like to draw your attention. Rick, can you walk a little closer to it so they can see a reflection from your leg? Okay, so move along. So see how it curves and waves as Rick legs. Move back, Rick, a little bit slowly. See how it's curving like that? This rear panel is almost wavy in a random texture. And when we move in on it, you can see it's quite thick again with plastic filler, and we've come to the conclusion that if we were to show this on a field like the Quail or Pebble, this kind of thing judges would call out. This sharp angle here is made from filler. It's not a natural angle in the construction of the car. A final thing that triggered a larger exploration, the radio antenna was not on this car when we got it. There was a plastic plug in this hole. And initially, we followed Ferrari's lead because they, gave us this car with the radio antenna hole in this place. But we saw that when we looked closer, because of the thickness of the coating, the paint was starting to split. So in the 630 position on that hole, you can see cracks radiating down from that. And that's because the paint and the filler are too thick there, and so when you put any load on it, it breaks. We researched whether that was the right place for an antenna after discovering that there was no provision whatsoever to have an antenna on that side, and yet the car was made with a radio. And we determined that the radio should go here. The radio antenna hole should go here. And then, when looking inside this car, I don't know that I can capture it with the camera, but there's a patch where the antenna hole was welded over and filled in this location. And because the nature of the patch, it's now a complex process to drill it out because we have to punch through 3 layers of steel. So that put us in the position where we knew we were going to have to take this window out. But as we prepared to do that, these other issues unfortunately reared their head and the job got larger. Rick, can you point out some of these? We have some issues in the otherwise good-looking run of paint here, where I've marked this with a dot. I'm going to try and move in and see if I can show this. It's very hard to capture little few thousandth of an inch defects in the paint on the camera. And I hope you can bear with me there it is, okay? You see it? Right there, the reflection, you see that line? Okay, so there again, we have a defect where hardware was put through from the inside of the car and it dimpled the outside. And you know, these things are hard for me to capture, but they are not hard to see if you have this car in hard, bright sunlight on a show field. And I'm just afraid that we're doing a disservice if we fix the back and we don't fix this. And then as we move forward, we find, and I'm going to try and move in close and get this, we find that this door was repainted after the car was painted, and it looks like they masked it. And do you see this line here where the chrome meets the body? That is where there is a paint layer boundary, and the clear is lifting away from the chrome piece. So
Just matching paint color.
We have another issue. I'm going to show it right now. Can you see in the photo now that the door is a lighter brown than the rear? And I think that what that is showing us is that the door was painted laying flat where the side of the car was painted when the car sat on its wheels. So the metallic has laid in differently. Do you want to point that out on the other side too, Ray? We have more issues there. Yeah. So
Yeah, this side here is definitely more pronounced.
it's a more pronounced color difference there.
Yeah.
The other thing here is, of course, we have the misfit of the door. So not only do we have the issue of the door having the filler, which I just don't think is going to be acceptable on a show field. People know how these doors were made, and that isn't it. But we also have this issue that the door just doesn't fit. And in the previous videos, I called out, see this misalignment of this trim? This trim is rippled, and if we go to the other side, the trim construction from side to side is different. You can see how the window frame is tipped forward here. And the windows in this car, we talked about them not working right, and that is because the shape of the channel is wrong and it's binding the glass. And unfortunately, I hoped that we could find simple fixes for the mechanical issues, but the fit of the door and that filler issue in the door, I feel like we have to deal with it all. And oh yeah, Rick, can you put your hands on the crack area and I'll move in. We are starting to see, and this again I think happens because the paint is just too thick on the car. The combination of paint and filler. I try and there, you see the line as I move through it? Yeah, Rick's got his finger on it. You can see it there in the reflections. See as I move the camera through it? That is about a 4-inch long crack. And I right there. Rick just ran his finger over it. I wish we could capture this better in the camera, but it's a line right where Rick has his finger. He can actually dig his fingernail into the crack line right there, and it moves front to back. That is similar to the cracking that we called out in the original video here. See that line? So we've now got splitting in the finish in multiple spots. And I see no real alternative to fixing that. In the previous video, we talked about, see the moldings are just spattered and worn out, they're sand spattered, they're worn, so we need to do the moldings. But as we looked closer, we realized that, see in here, not all this chrome was done on the car. If we're going to take the door apart, would we not fix the chrome? If we're going to fix the bent window framing, wouldn't we fix it all? You want to show?
If you watch the light as it goes past right in through here, you see a big wave in it as it moves.
Yeah, see the reflections bending there? Do you see that line bending as I move through? What you're looking at there is a depression in the hood. Now let's see if we can capture that from back here. Oh, look at that. See, we have an S bend in the fluorescent light there. It's a very distinct S. And now it moves into a curve, and then it straightens. And see, the S actually has a tail on it up by the cowl now. And I feel like I have to apologize for the scope of issues. See that spot there that's coming through? So I'm afraid that we're going to have to actually strip this finish. We're going to have to strip off this plastic filler, and we're going to have to do it properly. If we want a 100-point Ferrari here, which was always the goal. You have some other thoughts on this, Ray?
I do. I think you've pretty much covered everything. Yet, yeah, it clearly has to be stripped. And
this is not a whole restoration.
No,
we don't have to take the engine out. We have to take some interior out for access, but we're not proposing here that we're going to strip the whole car. But we have to strip off all of the exterior paint.
And all the chrome has to come off and we'll address that at the same time.
Yeah, and that's really the only way we're going to accomplish making doors that fit and windows that run smoothly in the tracks. And we're not doing anyone any service if we just do a patchwork on this and leave it to develop paint cracks and such that are worse than this in another 5 years, and then everything we do is for naught because we have to strip it then. Rick, you have any other thoughts?
That's absolutely correct. Unfortunately, the chrome has to come off, the glass has to come out, and we have to see what's under the paint and why it's having issues.
Sometimes you look at these cars and they look really beautiful, and then you look close, and of course in the case of this car, it was relatively recently repainted, and most of what I've shown you in this video today was not present if we looked at it last year. Look at that. Look at that ripple in the middle of the frame now. See this? We're looking at reflections of straight light fixtures on the ceiling, and look at the unevenness of that. And this is supposed to be flat metal paneling. It's not supposed to look like that. So I guess I'm gonna just leave it at that. I'm sorry to have to report as much combination of paint and body fit damage as we do, but between us all, you know, we're your team to make these cars the best, and this is our best guidance on this car. So that's it for us here.